Jayson, let's start things off with your stat or factoid of the week. What do you have for us? Oh, my mistake. Jayson, are you with us there?
Hello?
There you are. New
you.
phone system for all of us today, Jayson. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you dealing with that. So your factoid of the week, Jayson.
Okay, let's try this again. I wanted to talk a little bit about Bryson Stott leading off. All the time that we spent this spring, all winter really, right, debating who should lead off, Trey Turner or Kyle Schwarber, and then the answer turned out to be Bryson Stott. So I took a little bit of a dive on this, and it's interesting. Since he started leading off second week of April, only one everyday player in the National League has taken a higher percentage of pitches than he has. You know who that is? How about Juan Soto? Bryson Stott has taken over 62% of the pitches thrown to him. So he is working counts, man. But the thing is, when he swings, he's making contact over 88% of the time, and that is one of the highest contact rates in the league. So that sounds to me like a pretty ideal skill set for a leadoff man. Is that what you guys are saying?
Yeah, it's pretty good, if you ask me. I think the guy's done a nice job. I mean, he's given people on the bench, pitches to see, taking enough. He's seeing a lot of pitches. That's what you want.
It is. I mean, he's 2 for his last 20, so that kind of breaks down the argument a little bit. Obviously, that can't continue. But he's a guy who has really embraced what they've asked him to do, and I like it. I've always felt like there was more there in Bryson Stott.
All right, here's a question for you, because we've been talking about this a little bit on the show. Kyle Schwarber and a new contract, question mark.
Yeah, it's one of the storylines that I think is going to hang over this team as we go along. I mean, just in the big picture, the more you watch them, the more clear it becomes. Kyle Schwarber has to be part of this team going forward. I don't know if that's true of everybody. I don't know if it's true of Alec Bohm. I don't know if it's true of JT. I don't know if it's true of Brandon Marsh. But when I've asked people around the Phillies if they can conceive of a future that doesn't include Kyle Schwarber, they have a hard time grasping that. And I know Dave Dombrowski said, I think it was just a couple weeks ago, right, that he wants Kyle Schwarber to be a Philly for years to come. That was the quote, years to come. So I know people are asking, because they asked me, why hasn't this happened? I think one thing is he has no fear of going out there into the free agent market, and why should he? Man, no matter how you measure him, he's a feared hitter in this sport. There's hardly a left-handed hitter in the game who hits the ball harder consistently, more than Kyle Schwarber. Ohtani, Soto. I guess you could throw in Rafael Devers when he's going good. That's really about it. And we're now up to the last 5 seasons where the only players in the entire sport with more home runs than him are Aaron Judge and Ohtani. So he deserves to get paid. My understanding is he's told the Phillies, unlike a lot of people, he would talk contract in the middle of the season if they approach him because he loves it here. But just recognize he's so close to free agency now that they would have to pay him the kind of free agent dollars that are paid to other elite home run hitters. And so trying to figure out what that should be is hard. I think he'll be 33 next season, doesn't really play the field anymore. There's virtually no comps for Kyle Schwarber. I mean, is he Yordan Alvarez? Is he Giancarlo Stanton? I think Giancarlo's probably the best comp, $25 million a year, but he signed that 10 years ago. So, you tell me, $100 million for 4 years, something like that, through his age 36 season. If they offer him that after the season, do they get outbid? or do they keep the player?
It's a great question. We were trying to figure out the exact same thing earlier, Jason, and you got to imagine some team's going to roll out the Brinks truck for him, but how much does John Middleton value him as part of his organization? It will be very intriguing to watch. Now, speaking of elite...
it's interesting that they've let this play out with both him and JT, even though there's interest in keeping both of them.
Yeah, maybe it's the Aaron Nola thing that they got away with it with Nola, and it ended up working out with him coming back, that they feel they have a process. Right, as well.
And JT.
That's right. I forgot about that. Now, speaking of elite home run hitters, Jason, Alec Bohm hit his first of the year last night. And he's heating up.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on
that? Is that
him?
where he is now? Elite home run hitter territory?
I don't think he's quite there yet.
Yeah, not quite. But he's obviously been better. 310 average now since April 14th. Twice as many hits as strikeouts in that period. But it's 16 singles, only 4 doubles when he's quote-unquote hot. We talked about this with Bryce last week. He's just another guy who he's not hitting the ball hard in the air. His hard hit rate is actually at a career high, but the launch angle tells you that his swing plane is just way off. It's way different than it's been. He's at about a 6-point-something% launch angle. I mean, even if you're a gap hitter, you can't get balls to the gap with that launch angle, even when you hit them hard. So, you'll hear a lot of talk about all of Alec Bohm's hard hit outs, but with that launch angle, this is still not first half of 2024 Alec Bohm, because he's not getting the ball in the air. I do think the good news is he's getting out of his own head at least, so at least there's that.
All right, last one. How dominant is Zack Wheeler?
Wow. Ricky, you watch games like last night, doesn't it feel amazing that Zack Wheeler has never won a Cy Young?
I think he should have, Jason.
I was a voter last year, and it held up my ballot for a week trying to go through the entire Zach versus Chris Sale thing, and it was hard, man. So I understand why people would not have voted for him, but over this long period of time now, and even like this very minute when he's the highest paid pitcher in baseball, how many pitchers in this sport would you take over him? I might go Skeens and Skubal just because of their age. Who else? Is there anybody, Rick?
Yeah, no. I love watching him pitch.
So. Yeah, and so last night he threw 84 pitches, 62 of them pure power, 4-seamer, 2-seamer, cutter. Got 8 punch-outs off the 4-seamer, and the Rays barely even put that pitch in play. And I was thinking, this is how Curt Schilling used to pitch, but that was the 90s. Nobody does that now, and Zack Wheeler can still do it. Or, if he doesn't have that kind of fastball, he has the ability to bob and weave his way through the lineup because his secondary stuff is so good. He has all of those pitches in his pocket. There's a reason he's the highest paid pitcher in the sport. Over the last 5 seasons now, most wins, fewest base runners per game, most innings per start, top 3 in strikeouts, and he's always good. Year in, year out, game in, game out. Here's my hot take. Most underhyped superstar of modern times in this town. Am I right?
Yeah, I
very well could be.
Let me tell you something. You brought up Schilling in that. I remember watching Schilling pitch, and the one thing he could do is legitimately go through the first 9 in the lineup without throwing anything but a fastball. And I think Wheeler is the same guy.
Yeah, and nobody does that now.
No.
You have guys go to the mound with 8 pitches.
And they use them all in the
Zach
first inning.
Really pitch with 1 or 2 if he needs to.
Hopefully this is the year that he gets the hardware he deserves. Last one for you, Jason, before we let you go. A question that we asked earlier on in the show, and I'm just interested in your pick. Not holding you to it because it's May 7th, but who would be your Phillies MVP for the season so far? You can include pitchers if you'd like, but the player that's done the most for this team to this point.
Ooh, that's a fun question. I always tend to gravitate towards Schwarber. I mean, Jesus Luzardo's been the biggest addition. He's not the MVP of the team. I feel like it's Schwarber or Wheeler. Considering how the offense has scuffled, I'm going to lean Schwarber, but I don't think there's a wrong answer among those three. Who'd you guys pick?
We picked Schwarber, so it's good to hear that we're on par with where you're at. And Luzardo was brought up, Wheeler was brought up. So you got the big three that our callers and listeners have been going with as well. It's good to have options, and it's also maybe not great that the guy who's leading for all of us is heading into a contract situation after this year. But, hey, they're playing good baseball, Jason. That's all we can ask for, right?
They are. I feel like the panic level in the town is down.
Yep.
You guys would know better than me, but it's always helpful.
Yeah, it certainly is. Now, in Philadelphia, it only gets so low, but you certainly help us reduce that when you join us on Wednesday. So we appreciate the time, as always, man, and we'll be talking to you next week as the Phillies continue to try and climb up those standings.
Thanks, my friends. Talk to you soon.